14.
Right now at 9, our rain chances will slowly come to an end tonight, but you can still see some moderate to heavy pockets of rain. We'll see if that's bringing any flooding concerns to light coming up.
Plus, we're taking a look at storm damage out in western Kansas after 2 tornadoes are confirmed. Also, a local artist takes his talents and turns them into a business. We'll have his story. And
U.S. officials visiting Kyiv on Sunday, the same day Ukrainians celebrated Orthodox Easter amidst the war. I'm Trey Yanks in Kyiv. I've got the details coming up.
You're watching the KOAM News at 9, and it starts right now. Thank you for joining us. I'm Chris Warner. Well, we didn't see much in the way of severe weather. Heavy rain has certainly impacted a number of us in the 4 states. We're starting tonight with meteorologist Nick Kelly.
And before we head right to the radar, Chris, we are going to see at least wet roads from 7th and Rangeline right now, but at the very least, we're done with the heaviest of the rain as far as Joplin is concerned. 50 was pretty much where actually we started out at 71, an early midnight high, and the coldest we've been so far today is 50 degrees. No flash flood watches or flood warnings are out there, but a flood watch is blanketing parts of southwestern Missouri and around Grand Lake and northwestern Arkansas. The only river flooding concern that's even close to us is the Illinois River, but that you have to go south of Siloam Springs to see any of those impacts. But we are still seeing a good band of moderate rainfall, mainly in southwestern Missouri, but thankfully our storm system is on the move, the cold front pushing to the south and east of the region. What that's going to do, well, first and foremost, it's going to take us out of the 50s and near 60 right now and drop us back mainly into the 40s as we go through the night. But you can see that cold front departing takes the rain chances out of here. We'll start partly cloudy during the day, Chris, end up with mostly sunny skies, a mild day, but a nice day and a dry day with highs near 62. We'll see how the week ahead is shaping up here in a few.
All right, Nick, thank you. Well, the National Weather Service confirms a pair of tornadoes touched down in western Kansas last night. Storms left behind extensive damage in Sharon Springs and Selden. Both were rated EF1s. TJ Cleland spent the day in western Kansas to get a better look at the extent of the damage.
A community in shock.
Never in our lifetime, you live in a hole here, you ever think something like this would happen.
Last night at nearly 11 p.m., the town of Sharon Springs, a population less than 900, was struck by an EF1 tornado, leaving plenty of damage on its course.
Last night, came through here, didn't think much of a mess and everything. It didn't look like nothing happened, but this morning there was, from south side of town all the way to the north side of town, everything was gone. I mean, there was power poles, trees, you name it. South Park is messed up. It could have been a lot worse, Everybody survived, so.
The storm left a trail of debris from the south end of town all the way to the north, taking out multiple structures. People who live in Sharon Springs tell me that the storm escalated and touched down so quick that they weren't even alerted that there was a tornado.
And all of a sudden, boom, there it was, and who would have thought?
Since the storm went through town, many people had houses right next to the damage, and they're all grateful that they were so fortunate.
So I drove out here and I looked around and everything looked all right, and I looked over there and that's all a mess.
And not even 24 hours after the storm, this Sharon Springs community came together to start the cleanup process.
So this crew got together on the south side of town at Wagner's, and I live right here where we're working at now, around this area. And so that crew got done with them, came up here, did my yard, did the neighbor's yard. This is all stuff from the co-op.
Over here in the 4 states, Pittsburgh resident Paul Walden has autism, but he's not letting that keep him from doing what he loves and chase his dreams. His love for art has led him to starting his own business, Walden Creations. Today was his opening reception where he was able to showcase his work.
It's a thrill to be here. I'm so proud of Paul, and I think I'm honored to even be teaching him. He's quite frankly, he's taught me a lot.
Walden says he's hoping to continue growing his artistic success. Republican Missouri Senator Roy Blunt said there's no way former President Donald Trump would have resigned following the January 6th insurrection. Blunt's comment comes after a bombshell tape recording revealing House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy's wish for Trump to step down. Blunt says that wasn't going to happen.
When I first heard this, I thought anybody who'd been as close to President Trump as Kevin McCarthy would know that the last thing that Donald Trump was going to do was either resign or quit. It was a It was a pathway. We're 10 days to the end of his term. There was no way that was going to happen, and I was frankly sort of surprised that Kevin would even suggest it might be a realistic suggestion to make to President Trump.
Blunt also suggested that McCarthy could potentially lose a bid for Speaker if Republicans win back the House by only a narrow majority in the fall. Ukraine pressing the White House for more heavy arms during a visit Sunday from two administration officials. This as the war shifts to a new phase in the highly contested separatist regions of eastern Ukraine. Fox News correspondent Trey Yanks has the latest from Kyiv.
A brief escape from the fighting Sunday in Ukraine as Christians celebrated Orthodox Easter under difficult circumstances. Outside this church in Kyiv, a reminder that the capital is still under attack.
Unfortunately, as we were finishing our Easter Mass, we suddenly heard air raid sirens. It is tragic that people who call themselves Christian allow themselves to do such things.
We are not only celebrating God's resurrection, but also the victory of life over death. And right now, when death has come to the Ukrainian land, victory of life is especially important.
Subdued celebrations were held across the country on the same day the war hit the 2-month mark. Most of the fighting now happening in the east, where Russia is in the midst of an all-out offensive to solidify control of the Donbas region. In an emotional address at Kyiv's 1,000-year-old St. Sophia Cathedral, Ukraine's president said his country would overcome the dark times it's currently in.
Today, we still believe in the new victory of Ukraine, and we are all convinced that we will not be destroyed by any horde or wickedness.
Meanwhile, Zelensky continues to press Western leaders for help. The U.S. Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense were in Kyiv on Sunday, a day after the White House announced it would send an additional $800 million in military assistance. The visit by senior U.S. officials is the first since the start of the war. In Kyiv, Trey Yanks, Fox News.
And we take this time now to honor one of our many four-state heroes. James Foley served in the Navy during Korea, Vietnam, and the Bay of Pigs invasion. His hometown, Pittsburgh. We're proud to recognize James Foley, tonight's four-state hero. And remember, if you'd like to learn more about our other heroes, or if you've got one of your own you'd like to nominate, you can do that anytime at KOAMNewsNow.com. After the forecast, a major West Coast city re-implementing mask mandates on public transportation, going against a new federal ruling striking down masks on public transit.
Make sure your camper RV
way to get the right mattress.
We had quite a bit of cloud cover and periods of rain, even some thunderstorms throughout the day, but at the very least we didn't have to deal with any severe weather. But the front that brought us the rain, storms, and the clouds certainly made a big difference in terms of temperatures. We had mid to upper 70s throughout the day yesterday. Midnight highs around 71, especially in Joplin. But then as the rain really took hold and increased in coverage, look at how it tanked us into the upper 50s by 6 a.m. We just spent much of the day, well, if you spent the day underneath the clouds, you were in the lower to middle 50s. Some of you, thankfully, saw some peaks of sunshine and got back into the 60s, even a couple spots near 70 today. So we had to put up with the slow-moving storm system in the grand scheme of things. That gave us some scattered storms and a couple of low and severe thunderstorm warnings last night. Then the rain that we saw imperious throughout the day and shifted gradually along and south of the I-44 corridor. That's where the evening rain chances have been so far, and thankfully we're on the back edge of these rain chances. About time too as we get ready to head back to work and school tomorrow. In the meantime, though, still some good bands of rain, moderate at the very least, from about Miller, Halltown, Mount Vernon, working back down to about Stark City, Pineville, Table Rock Lake. But we have not seen any aerial flood warnings from this, even though the radar estimates suggest about 3/4 of an inch on the average. And you can see the big bullseye along and south of I-44, generally between half an inch and almost 2 inches of rain. Still, though, we're keeping an eye on these flood watches from about I-44 south and southwestern Missouri, Grand Lake, Benton County, Arkansas until 7 a.m. But the only flood concerns we have even close to us is parts of the Illinois River stretching from Tahlequah almost up to Siloam Springs. Other than that, the rain has behaved for the most part. It certainly has left the roads wet again from 7th and Range Line, but at least dropping your drive for the time being. 54 with an east breeze at 3. Everybody now has been dropping back into the mid to upper 50s, but some of you that saw a lot of sun today, you're still in the lower 60s at the top of the 9 o'clock hour, but we are set for a cool start for your Monday as the storm system continues to move along. We're pretty much on the backside of the cold front now. We're just going to let high pressure over the Rockies and the low with this cold front funnel in that northerly wind, cooler air for the overnight hours, and we're definitely back on the cooler side of the jet while we wait for our next storm system down the road coming at us from the west. In the short term, though, the last of the rain chances, they'll be on the way out of here as we go through the overnight. Definitely by the morning drive, I really think we're dry. Partly cloudy skies starting to return across the region, but you see how we drop into the lower to middle 40s. Definitely a cool start for your Monday, but look at how we gravitate toward mostly sunny skies. That, despite a north breeze of 5 to 15 during the day, maybe an occasional gust near 20. We'll go from 44 in the morning, 55 by noon. Not bad tomorrow with highs near 62. Cooler than normal, but mild and not too extremely warm. Some cloud cover Monday evening, but we're dry going into Tuesday and throughout all of Tuesday for that matter. Mostly sunny skies with highs back in the mid 60s. And then looking down the road, an upper level ridge puts us back into the 70s for Wednesday. Then I want to watch for maybe one quick wave that could give us some scattered storms on Thursday. But this is the next system of Doug's pattern I want to watch. Depending on how this tracks, this could potentially be a setup for strong, possibly severe storms. So that's going to be the next big system down the line that we're watching. But again, Chris, we'll wait until we get to the end of the week to deal with that. We got plenty of time to see how that will pan out. 62, dry and brighter tomorrow. 64 Tuesday, highs near 70. Even with those rain chances on the way, pretty mild overall from about near 70 to the mid 70s.
Yeah, all this rain, my yard keeps growing so fast I can't keep up with it.
You got to take a machete instead of a lawnmower to cut it down?
That, and I'm thinking about just buying some goats. Just keeping them out in the front lawn.
That
works. Them take care of it that way.
If you don't mind the upkeep, the goats can certainly work.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Nick, thank you so much. Still to come, despite pandemic layoffs, business closings, and supply chain problems in 2021, the IRS still going to rake in some cash from at least one group. We'll tell you who.
Player rounding third gets tax time.
Check this neatness out. It's a time lapse of our towers outside. It's a tower cam brought to you by R.E. Smith Construction. Work is continuing. Pat crews were here today, continuing work on the KOAM More Power project. Want more information? Check it out, KOAMnewsnow.com/power. 10 million people in Los Angeles County must once again mask up on all public transit, going against a new federal ruling that struck down the CDC's nationwide mask mandate. The whiplash has once again left travelers confused and frustrated. Fox News correspondent Christina Coleman has more from Los Angeles.
Mask wearing was optional for riders using LA County's metro system as of Tuesday, but as of Friday, commuters who use public transit in LA County were required to mask up once again. LA County issued a new public health order that started Friday at 12 a.m., which requires everyone age 2 and older, regardless of their vaccination status, to mask up in all public transit and indoor transportation hubs, including airports and subway stations, confusing some passengers.
I feel like there's a reason we have a vaccination, so I'll definitely follow the rules, but I don't really like wearing a mask.
The thing I don't like is that the flip-flop. You get on one side or the other.
So if you're passing through LAX, you're required to wear a mask at the airport per LA County's rules, but you don't have to wear a mask on the plane. During a teleconference, LA County's health director said masking up is still needed locally on public transit due to elevated COVID transmission.
While it would be much preferable to have, as CDC had previously mandated, a requirement that covers the entire country, until the legal challenges are addressed, it's important that local jurisdictions take direction from the CDC on what measures are needed to protect the public health.
Also, riders in New York, Massachusetts, and Wisconsin are still required to mask up in a number of transit settings per their local public health guidance. Reporting in Los Angeles, Christina Coleman, Fox News.
More news coming your way as Twitter now falls in line with another big tech company on particular ads on its platform.
April is limb loss.
Well, despite pandemic layoffs, business closings, and supply chain problems in 2021, the IRS still going to rake in some cash from at least one group. The Congressional Budget Office's most recent account review says corporate tax revenues from the first 6 months of the fiscal year were up 22%. At that speed, the federal government could accumulate $454 billion in collections. Even with pandemic problems, the receipts show a strong economy and could hit a final tally of more than $5 trillion. Total collections are running about 25% higher in the fiscal year 2022. Twitter now falls in line with another big tech company on ad buys concerning climate change. Twitter says it will not allow for advertising opposing the general consensus on climate change. Social media platform says it will soon provide more information on how it will set the context to climate change discussions. The decision follows policies already in place with Google. Twitter offered up pre-bunks to last year's UN climate change conference to counter what it considers misinformation. The new changes do not appear to affect what users currently post on the site. And your favorite seafood plate might be different because of the ongoing climate change effects, according to new research. A study by the University of British Columbia says climate changes can affect seafood restaurant menus. Analysts studied species' favorable water temperatures between 1880 and 2021 and found gradually warming temperatures are causing a drop-off in sockeye salmon. Scientists say restaurants may turn more towards products like Humboldt squid or even sardines because they do well in warmer waters. Researchers are predicting less stability in local seafood harvests. Supply chain issues are affecting family fun activities. Fox News multimedia reporter Mills Hayes has the story of one of the many business costs being passed down to consumers.
We've got everything you could possibly need to host a board game night, and if you live in the Midwest, you know that those nights are essential to surviving those harsh winters here. And I spoke with board game publishers who tell me that supply chain and manufacturing issues have forced them to raise prices, and it's something that they unfortunately have to put on to consumers.
I have word games, I have party games.
Nadine Sinnert loves board games. She and her husband have a collection of over 4,000 board games.
And you can learn how to take risks without ever having to really risk anything in your life, right? It's just a game.
But they could be waiting longer than usual for new games. John Nephew and his staff at Atlas Games have 2 hours to get these boxes off this truck and into this warehouse before they get charged for overtime.
Logistics has been a huge snarl. The costs have skyrocketed.
The Duluth, Minnesota-based company publishes board games and card games.
Our overall volume of business has risen. We have experienced much of the inflation so far in the form of reduced profits. We started doing price increases last year.
Nephew says they would have paid $3,000 to $5,000 to ship their games from a port in China to Duluth 2 years ago. Now, a whole lot more.
The best deal we've been able to find in the last year has been down in around $15,000, and there have been times that we paid $26,000.
But it's not just the price rising, it's also taking longer to travel to the States. The average time it takes goods to get from Asia to the U.S. is 111 days, which is near record highs. Karen Donahue is a professor in supply chain at the Carlson School of Management.
One of the bottlenecks in terms of board games could be the manufacturing that's happening in China just because of the COVID outbreak that's occurring there.
The war in Ukraine has caused oil prices to increase, and plastic that's used for tabletop games and other board game items is a petroleum product. And Professor Donahue tells me that could be another reason why we're seeing manufacturing and shipping delays and disruptions. In Minneapolis, Mills Hayes, Fox News.
We're going to wrap up this half hour of News at 9 with a special announcement for pet parents. Here's a day for pets to join in and help celebrate the ones who love them. Today is National Pet Parent Day, and honestly, if you're a pet parent, that's probably every day. The date when pet owners are celebrated for the care they give to their furry family members. It was created by the Veterinary Pet Insurance in 2007 to encourage owners to think of their pets as part of the family. not like you needed to be encouraged. Cuddling with your pet is just one of the great ways to observe this day. You can also share photos of your furry friend on social media with your friends. See, all these things everybody already does, but if you're doing it today, share with the hashtag National Pet Parents Day to encourage others to share the love as well. I used to have several furry friends, furry pets. I had several cats. My parents were big cats people, so I was a big cat person, and believe me, I know the love of being a pet parent. Now I've just got real kids, and they're like pets, except they eat a lot more, and they grow a lot faster. We've got 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Up first, a shooting involving teenagers in southeast Atlanta left at least 5 people injured. Plus, Orlando fire crews are being hailed as heroes after rescuing 8 people from a burning apartment complex.
Here a flower, there a flower.
Welcome back. A shooting involving teenagers in southeast Atlanta has left at least 5 people injured. On Saturday night, police responded to Centennial Olympic Park across from a Waffle House. When they arrived at the scene, they found 3 teenagers with gunshot wounds. Investigators later learned 2 more people drove themselves to Grady Memorial Hospital after carjacking a vehicle from a valet at gunpoint. Police are going through surveillance video to learn who exactly is involved and how the shooting started. Orlando fire crews are being hailed as heroes after rescuing 8 people from a burning apartment complex in Orlando. When firefighters arrived, thick smoke was pouring out of the building and flames were visible. A sheriff's deputy was among the first people to see what was happening. Deputy William Suzinski said he heard a baby crying. When he looked up, he could see a baby on a balcony that a mom was desperately trying to save. That's when Pazinski jumped into action, scaling the building to rescue the baby from the 3rd floor balcony. Orange County Fire Rescue arrived soon after to help and got 7 more people out of that burning building.
Their balcony, there was a 1-year-old baby that the mom was trying to get over, and so at that moment I knew that I had to save the baby.
Firefighters say they battled the flames for about an hour, say the fire directly damaged half the apartments in the 24-unit building. The Orlando Red Cross is assisting families and helping the residents who are now homeless because of the fire find shelter. The cause of that fire is under investigation. Former Utah Republican Senator Orrin Hatch has died at the age of 88, according to his foundation. Press release says Hatch passed away late Saturday afternoon in Salt Lake City, surrounded by his family. Hatch was the longest-serving senator in Utah history, giving 42 years of his life to Congress. Executive Director of the Hatch Foundation, Matt Sandgren, says, quote, "Senator Hatch touched the hearts of countless individuals, and I know I speak for all of them when I say he will be dearly missed." We're learning more about the suspect in the gruesome murder of a New York City mother. Police say she was trying to end an affair with the suspect, her handyman, and that he confessed to stabbing her dozens of times. But the latest twist in the story is that the murder suspect is here illegally. Fox News correspondent Nate Foy has more.
The accused killer, 44-year-old David Banola, is being held without bail at Queens Central Booking right now. But U.S. immigration officials have filed the detainer, which could facilitate his deportation if he were ever to be released. Take a look at this surveillance video. Police say the handyman turned on and off again lover over the period of 2 years, turned accused killer of married mother Ursula Gall, is seen on surveillance video here. Fox News first learned of his possible illegal status during this NYPD press conference.
We believe he arrived here approximately 21 years ago, and we believe he came from Mexico.
Was he a legal resident here? Did he come illegally?
So we're not going to get into his immigration status.
But now we know Banola is here illegally. The detainer filed by ICE will ensure that they take custody of him if he's ever released. ICE wouldn't speak specifically about Banola, but did provide this statement to Fox News. It reads, quote, ICE focuses its civil immigration enforcement priorities on the apprehension and removal of non-citizens who pose a threat to our national security, public safety, and border security. Police say Banola stabbed Ursula Gall nearly 60 times with a kitchen knife from her own home. Gall's 13-year-old son was on the 3rd floor while the attack happened in the basement. Police say Banola left behind a bloody jacket as well as the murder weapon. Banola is facing charges of murder, criminal tampering, and criminal possession of a weapon. He's due back in court this Tuesday. Reporting in New York, Nate Foy, Fox News.
Later on the news at 9, lawmakers on both sides trying to stop the Biden administration from ending the Title 42 border policy.
At Aaron Saxon Associates.
We had quite a big difference in temperatures. Certainly it takes a good cold front, a lot of clouds and a lot of rain to take care of that. Certainly going from the mid to upper 70s yesterday and quite a bit cooler today. We had midnight highs around 71, especially at Joplin Regional. But then when the rain really expanded in coverage, it sent temperatures tanking into the upper 50s by 6 a.m. and pretty much the entire day. If you were underneath clouds in the rain, you were stuck in the 50s all day. Those of you northwest of Joplin lucky enough to see the sun, you got back into the 60s, even a couple spots near 70. Thankfully, we're all going to trend brighter and drier after dealing with all these rounds of rain and thunderstorms, even a couple of low-grade severe thunderstorm warnings, mainly on the Kansas and Oklahoma side last night. Thankfully, we didn't get much in the way of severe weather out of that. That's a good problem to have. But on the other hand, we still have a good band of rain. Thankfully, it's the last of it, but still slowly working across southwestern Missouri. And notice how it's really heavy in Berry County. In fact, rain amounts down there ranging easily between 1 to almost 3 inches so far already, while the area-wide average is just under an inch. Make that about 3/4 of an inch. Just recently, all that rain that's been showing up in Berry County, other than the flood watch that's still in this shade of green until 7 a.m. tomorrow, this is the newest flood warning we have for much of central Berry County, from Washburn to Cassville, Butterfield, Jenkins, and almost down to Lomer as you walk along Missouri 76. Springfield really pointed out the rain has been really stacking up around the Upper Flat Creek Basin, including the Rockhouse Creek as well. So just be mindful of that, because some of those creeks beds might start to flood a bit if that rain continues at a pretty good rate. At least we're dry for the most part in Joplin now. Wet roads from rain earlier, but we're at 54, east breeze at 3. Everybody for the most part is sitting in the 50s, but we still have a couple 60s on the board from Chanute, Fredonia, and up to Yates Center. Generally, though, everybody's going to trend cool and everyone's going to stay mild, but it's trending a little bit cooler still for tomorrow because we're finally getting rid of this cold front. But behind it, even though we're going to clear out, the low, it's following in that northwest wind on the backside of this storm system, and high pressure also aiding in that northwest wind. And we'll just wait until the end of the week for another storm system to head our way out of the Pacific and the Gulf of Alaska. In the short term, though, this guy's moving along, keeping us on the cooler side of the jet, and we will note that coolness, especially as we start to see the rain clear out overnight and mostly cloudy skies turn more partly cloudy. That's going to drop most of us in the lower to middle 40s to cooler temperatures northwest, while those around Joplin and much of the region will be in the mid 40s. But everybody will enjoy mostly sunny skies throughout the day tomorrow. And despite a north breeze at about 5 to 15, we are going to see temperatures topping out in the lower 60s for tomorrow afternoon. Most spots around 62. Looking at passing cloud cover to start Monday evening out, but we're dry. We're going to stay dry, not just Tuesday morning, but through all of Tuesday, and that is going to send us back into the mid-60s for highs. We're back near 70, if not lower 70s for Wednesday, but after this little ridge starts to nudge temperatures upward, we'll watch for a weak system that could give us some scattered storms Thursday, but a better shot for thunderstorms and maybe a possible strong to severe thunderstorm threat late Friday going into Saturday. This fits Doug's pattern, so that's the next system we're definitely keeping an eye on for sure. 62 for tomorrow. We will go 64 Tuesday, 70 on Wednesday. Nice, mild, and dry to start the new work week and school week out. Then by the end of the week, Chris, even though we'll stay mainly mild, that's when we'll keep an eye on returning rain chances once again.
Well, it's going to dry out long enough to get caught up on mowing the yard just in time for it to rain and the yard to grow again.
It's about that time of year, isn't it?
Yeah, it is that part of the cycle, isn't it, Nick? Thank you so much. Coming up in sports, we're going to hear from Pitt State's Lewis Rollins on his record-breaking race, plus a preview of the Chiefs' picks in the upcoming draft. Danny Terzer has it all next.
This is the Toyota Sunday Night Sports Feed. Pitt State Track and Field competed in its final meet prior to the MIAA Outdoor Championships, and in the windy conditions on Saturday, the Gorillas still managed to win events and break some records. Lewis Rollins, racing in the 110-meter hurdles, wins the event in 13.31 seconds. That time sets a new Pitt State record and new stadium record.
You know, out the gate felt good. Start's always there for me, and then was clean over the first 3 or 4 hurdles, and at that point I knew I was running pretty fast. It's always good to compete at home and have your home crowd behind you and have your teammates there. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's not about achieving these personal accolades and having no one there to support you. It's about having friends and family with you and enjoying it with other people. We're pretty confident. You know, we have one goal in mind, that's to win it all, and that's what we're going to do.
LJ Kiner impressed in the triple jump. He won the event and hit a provisional qualifying mark, reaching 53 feet 2.75 inches.
In the sense of my landing phase, I want to get that out farther. I guess perfecting that. My run up and everything feels good, so getting that better is my main focus. I really feel ready for nationals more than anything. Conference is always, it's a fun meet to me. Like it's fun having all the team together and everybody competing one last time. But I'm more ready for nationals if anything else.
A few other notable performances from the day. Braylon Brewer runs the 100-meter prelim in 10.4 seconds, the 6th fastest time in school history. Sky Hagan and Madeline Marquez take 1st and 2nd in the 100-meter hurdles, posting the 5th and 7th fastest times ever at PSU. Cameron Williams wins the shot put and hits a personal record. Anna Childress also PRs, winning the triple jump with a mark of 40 feet 8.25 inches. Missouri Southern baseball made history this weekend in their road series with Northeastern State. The Lions hit 5 home runs in the series finale on Saturday, breaking the school's single-season home run record. Southern now has 83 home runs this season. The previous record was 81, set back in 2017. The Lions have 3 players who've hit more than 10 this year. Tommy Stevenson leads the team with 15. That's 5th most in the MIAA. Matt Miller has 13 on the season, and Tragan Parker has 11. We're officially 1 week out from the 2022 NFL Draft, less than 1 week actually. The first round begins this Thursday night. The Kansas City Chiefs have 12 picks in total, including 2 in the first round back-to-back at 29 and 30. Chiefs general manager Brett Veach shares some insight.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities to last draft. I think we have right around 16, 18 names on our front board as first round picks, and picking there at 29 and 30, you know, the odds of maybe one of those guys falling isn't great. But I think similar to last year, I think when you look at value in this draft, 30 to 60 is really good. We were able to get Nick Bolton and Creed Humphrey last year. I think there'll be a lot of value similar to that. I think a lot of really good players in that second, third round.
Royals are in action this afternoon for Game 3 against the Mariners. Kansas City is looking to leave Seattle with a win. Third inning, 1 on for Salvador Perez. He rips this one down the line. Edward Olivares scores from first to tie the game at 2. Skip now to the 9th. Royals trail by 1. Hunter Dozier takes care of that. Solo shot to center. Back to a tie game. Mariners can't answer, so to extras we go. Andrew Benintendi pokes it through. Michael Taylor scores. Royals take their first lead. Back and forth, 12th inning, Royals get nothing. Then Jesse Winker, on the 11th pitch of the at-bat, walks it off for Seattle. Kansas City falls 5-4. Cardinals aim for their first sweep of the season today against Cincinnati. Nick Senzel drives in a run, but St. Louis gets him out. Reds up 2-0. Cards struggling against Nick Lodolo today. He pitches 5 2/3 innings and strikes out 7 batters. This game not out of reach though. Tyler O'Neill sends one to the back wall. RBI double scores Paul Goldschmidt. That cuts the Reds' lead to 2. But Cincinnati responds. Colin Moran drills one by the infield, and the Reds snap an 11-game losing streak today, beating the Cards 4-1. We're back right after this. How you can participate.
Lawmakers on both sides are trying to stop the Biden administration from ending the Title 42 border policy. The political fallout is heating up as border agents prepare for a surge of migrants. Meanwhile, a new report from Axios says Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas is privately telling lawmakers he's concerned about the plan to lift Title 42. Fox News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson is at the White House with more.
One Texas mayor says if President Biden won't visit the southern border, perhaps his press secretary will before she departs in the coming weeks.
I think Ms. Psaki should come down to the border and stay with some of these individuals that live along the border and see what they endure every day, the fear that they have, not knowing who's coming in their house or could be coming in their house or coming across their property.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has sued the Biden administration over lifting Title 42, warning of a, quote, devastating flood of illegal migration. Dozens of Democrats, including many in tight Senate races this fall, urging the White House to keep Title 42 in place. The Trump-era public health measure that has already barred nearly 2 million migrants from coming to the U.S. since the height of the pandemic 2 years ago. A group of bipartisan senators have introduced a bill to delay lifting Title 42 for 60 days. The Biden administration plans to repeal it next month. The president's own DHS secretary, Alejandro Mayorkas, has reportedly told members of Congress he's also concerned about the administration repealing Title 42. And one Democratic lawmaker says he's concerned as well.
The administration is handing over a perfect narrative for Republicans to go after Democrats in November. And they just don't understand why that's being handed over to the Republicans, this narrative of open borders down at in our southern area.
The president plans to host the Congressional Hispanic Caucus here at the White House on Monday. They plan to discuss immigration and Title 42. At the White House, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
And we're back right after this. One of Dorothy's dresses from The Wizard of Oz could auction off for upwards of $1.2 million. Bonhams is auctioning off this blue and white dress that Judy Garland wore for the scene at the witch's castle. This is only the second complete final costume with both blue and white pinafore dress and blouse known to exist. It's also one of only 5 blue and white versions of the pinafore dress made for the film. The fabric label is inscribed Judy Garland. During the pandemic, a retired drama professor at Catholic University of America discovered the dress while going through boxes from his former office. Turns out the dress was donated to the school by actress Mercedes McCambridge back in 1973. The auction is set for May 24th in Los Angeles. That is one dress that I could see people definitely spending $1.2 million on. It's definitely iconic. Cameron, I know you probably wouldn't wear it, but would you spend $1.2 million on it? Not 1 point. Is there a number that would be appropriate given its value, its historical value? Maybe. There might be a good number, but not 1.2 million. Well, we have another good number for you. It's 7 a.m., and that's when the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 starts, and that's our time for us here. We'll see you then, and thanks for making us part of your night.